Hello everybody, you're watching Newegg TV. My name's Steve, and today in the studio we have a very special guest from Nvidia. Everyone, I want you to meet Sean from the Quadro team.
Hey Steve.
Hey Sean, how's it going, man?
Great, pleasure to be here.
Hey, thank you so much for coming in. You guys brought in some new cards. This is the Nvidia Quadro refresh, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
So a quick notice I want to give you all if you're deciding to get a Quadro card. These are going to be great cards for your workstations. They're going to be great for any kind of hardcore projects that you might be doing with CAD or fluid dynamics or anything that's really going to harness parallel processing. And you would need something like this that would be certified for that software.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. There's a wide range of applications, but the key thing that ties them all together is that they're professional applications.
Right.
And that might be that they're professional animation packages or they're professional CAD packages, like you mentioned, or fluid dynamics.
Right.
But also, one of the key areas that we're starting to see a lot more use out of these products is video processing, and the Quadro cards are able to do that now. Now that a lot of these video applications are now taking advantage of GPU processing.
Right. Maybe we should rehash certification. It's something we've talked about in the past, but when you get a card certified for an application, so let's say it's certified for Adobe Photoshop, let's say, or Maya. Actually, Maya's probably a better one.
Maya's a real good example.
Yeah. So what is it that's happening when they're getting certified? What does that actually mean?
Before we even bring these cards to market, we're working with the software vendors and actually getting product in their hands, and they're looking at it, they're running it through. They've got a complete set of certification tests that they're running on it to make sure that the card behaves completely, 100% accurately inside the application. And then once it's they've looked at it, it's met all their requirements, it's passed all their tests, they'll come and say, we certify the card itself perfect, runs flawlessly, and the driver as well. So it's a combination, certified hardware and certified driver. For the most part, we have a significant portion of the certification tests that they run themselves in-house in our own QA department. And so we'll run those tests ourselves to make sure that that the cards themselves, every driver release that we put out, that it is functioning to its utmost performance in those applications. Now that those drivers aren't officially ISV certified, but they've gone through, if not all of the same tests, a large percentage of them. And so users can go from, if they're using a certified driver, which are available up on our website, and they want to go to a newer driver because it offers some functionality that's not available in the older certified driver, they can do that and have a pretty, peace of mind that it's going to function properly.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the cards themselves. Maybe we should just jump right into some of the specifications of each one of them, just to give it an idea to those out there that maybe have the original version before this newer Quadro refresh came out.
Right.
Would you mind if we jump into that?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the K620 here. Obviously, sort of an entry-level model, I would assume, and it would jump right into a workstation. Now, what kind of graphics, or what should I say, which programs would you recommend for something at this level?
So a K620 is going to be, its target audience for that's going to be more entry-level CAD. So you've got kind of your Autodesk AutoCAD, probably maybe even some Autodesk Inventor, and maybe some light SolidWorks users. That's going to be an ideal card for those guys. And this is replacing the K600 card. And almost across the board with all of the cards, we doubled the memory. For the most part. So this particular product, we went from 1 gigabyte on the K600, and the K620, it's now a 2 gigabyte card. So that right in itself automatically means that we can load larger models in here.
Perfect.
Additional textures, and then we've increased the core counts on the GPU itself. And so we've raised the level of the entire product there.
Excellent. So basically, more CUDA cores, faster response. It's able to ingest more data and send it back out.
And for people that aren't familiar with CUDA cores, the CUDA cores are kind of the single, they're individual units within the GPU that are capable of processing, an instruction. And that could be a CUDA command, or it could be a graphical command. But obviously, the more of them you have, the faster things go.
And going back to parallel processing, it can process as many things as possible in a row, as many CUDA cores as it possibly has. Up to memory, I'm assuming, barring
Exactly. Yeah. It's a combination of memory and CUDA cores, basically, that gate how large an object you're going to be able to work with and do it interactively.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to the next refreshed model, we have the K2200.
Right.
This model here, obviously a beefier heatsink, And if I flip it around, you can actually see the PCB stops here with the blower style fan continuing on to the rest of the card. But on this particular model, what are we looking at in terms of memory? And
so again, this was a doubling of the memory on this card. We went
Gotcha.
from 1 gigabyte on that to 2 gigabytes. And one of the neat things about the 2200 is that for all that power, you still get it without any additional power connectors on it.
Right, that's true.
So it utilizes just the PCIe power coming off of that.
So less than 75 watts then, I'm guessing.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. And so this is going to be an ideal card for somebody who's doing kind of more advanced, a more advanced SolidWorks user,
Okay.
maybe the entry-level CATIA user, and then maybe some entry-level, animation. So something like, say, 3D Studio Max, maybe even some light Maya work along those lines. But then once you start getting beyond kind of the entry level in those applications, you're going to move kind of up the line a little bit. That's a neat thing about the product line is that you kind of scale kind of really naturally from one product to the next, and it basically comes down to how demanding is your workload.
Of course, as you would expect, right? Pay a little bit more money, get better performance.
Right.
So
what's
the next model we have? The 4200.
The K4200.
Okay.
So this one we didn't quite double the memory on this one. We went from on the K4000 had 3 gigabytes of memory, and this one here 4 gigabytes of memory, single power connector on there, 6 pin, and this is basically really a nice card. I really like it. Single slot solution, which means it can fit in just about almost any chassis. A lot of power. This is going to be a ideal card for guys that are doing kind of high-end CAD stuff, and then kind of high-end animation. You're kind of mid-range to starting to get into high-range animation. Your Maya user, your 3D Studio Max user, they're going to get a lot of benefit out of this card.
And then finally, the 5200, I believe it is.
The K5200, right, replaces the K5000. And this one took a nice jump. We went from a 4 gigabyte frame buffer on the K5000 to an 8 gigabyte frame buffer on here.
Excellent.
And then the number of CUDA cores on this, we went up to 2,300 CUDA cores, which puts this up really close to the existing K6000 card.
Gotcha.
The K6000 isn't getting replaced. It's still the top
still
dog
the top tier.
in the heap. He's got 2,800 plus CUDA cores.
2880, I want to guess.
Yeah, 2880 exactly.
Okay. All right.
And then 12 gigabytes of of GPU memory on that. But I mean, this is now you're getting into your high-end users, and then additionally, what you're now being able to do is you're being able to do some really, really high-end GPU processing as well. It means that now this becomes an ideal card for doing GPU-based ray tracing.
Okay.
Say with iRay inside 3D Studio Max.
Wow.
Or Octane. It's going to allow you to do 4K debarring of red raw files inside Premiere. All done on the GPU. That's a really interesting thing because Premiere just added that. So if you're working with red raw video,
massive files.
It's a massive file, and the interesting thing is it's not really a video file because you're just capturing the sensor data there.
Right.
But that's an extremely intensive process, and it used to require a dedicated red rocket card just to do that.
Okay.
And so we're now able to replace the functionality of that card.
With one of these?
Yeah, with one of these.
So is that across the board then? I'm assuming it's not just hardware, or is it just primarily the refresh line that can do that?
It's going to be across the board. It's a functionality, but the thing is that 4K debarring is actually very intensive. So up until the refresh, really the only card that it made sense to really do it on was the K6000.
Of course.
The K5000 could do it, but probably it suffered in certain areas, but with the K5200, all of a sudden now, you've got a lot more memory, and you've got a lot more CUDA cores, and now all of a sudden, 4K debarring becomes extremely
so memory
easy
being
to do.
memory being one of the core reasons, but also having more CUDA cores to do the raw number chugging.
Exactly.
So,
right.
Okay. Excellent. So I've got to address this, guys, because I was thinking about it as soon as my buddy Sean walked in the door. None of these are rocking the new GM210, the big chip, but that's okay. The K6000 is still the lead dog of the Quadro, and we kind of spoke about this prior. The Kepler GPU is still powerful for what we're doing, and I know that there are some Maxwell mischief kind of being mixed in, but right now it's just evening out the line, and then at some point after certification and everything else. I mean, you have not told me anything. I am making connections here, guys. So don't shoot Sean at all. I am guessing that they're probably doing certification and things of that sort. So making sure that the next line are ready to go, because obviously, as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, certification is so important to make sure that your hardware is up to spec prior, and that it's guaranteed to work with said software.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, certifications and those type of things with ISPs, it's they don't happen overnight.
Right.
And we want to, more than anything else, our users demand that everything be 100% reliable.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that you do everything you possibly can to give them the best product. And that means putting together, a perfect board. It means making sure that the partners have ample chance to take a look at it. They've got time to certify the hardware, they've got time to certify the drivers, and that when the first person that buys that board, that it just works.
Right.
Because I mean, that's really what Quadro is. It just works. That's the whole goal behind it, is that you're, depending on what you're doing as a professional, a lot of people are always asking about, what's the performance? What's the performance? And performance is important, but more than anything else, productivity is the key that we use to measure whether these cards are actually fulfilling, basically their goal.
Right.
Because, and for some people, performance and productivity are the same thing. If you just need something to go really fast, it might be that performance and productivity are the same. But for most people, it's not, because there's a lot of different things that go in there. It's what's my end user experience? Do I have, if I'm an IT manager and I've got guys with an environment with 100 workstations and they're working at it, are they working efficiently, or are they spending downtime because they've got driver issues and they've got to call support for things that are happening?
Yeah.
And that all eats into time when they could actually be doing real work.
Yeah.
And so that's the real measure, is what is my productivity level? And so the goal here is that we maximize that productivity. And that might be making sure that everything is 100% reliable, because that's definitely a part of it. It also might mean giving them new tools, like GPU-based rendering. So now all of a sudden, a render that would take overnight, now with using IRA with a bunch of GPUs in a system, now I'm doing it in an hour instead of overnight.
Right.
So that means now I can do multiple iterations of something, rather than come in the next morning and go, oh, I had the light in the wrong place.
More efficient, get as much done in as little time as possible.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And it changes how people work. It's the goal of being able to have the best graphics experience possible in a completely interactive way.
Excellent.
And that means that we're doing exciting things. And it's neat to be able to see something like ray tracing that used to just take forever.
Right.
And now to turn around and see it running on the GPU and just, it's done, and these beautiful lifelike renders.
Photorealistic.
Photorealistic. I mean, ray tracing works exactly the same way that light works in the real world. And as those rays bounce around, they bounce back to the camera, same way that they enter the human eye. So we not have to fake things like shadows and all that stuff, because it actually is, it's modeling the real world. Yeah. Yeah. And
fascinating.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see, and that's just one of the areas where productivity is, and definitely it's happening faster, so it's performance as well. But it's the two things together.
Wow. Well, Sean, thank you so much. I mean, it's all been extremely informational, and I've learned a tremendous amount. Every time one of you guys come in, I always learn a lot. So thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thank you guys also for watching today's video. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to click the like button. And if you haven't already done so, check out our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/Newegg. And we'll see you guys in the next video.